So I'm seriously considering switching from DSLR vlogging to smartphone. Why is that, might you ask? If you watched my first vlogging tips video, you may recall I was trying to find a combination of my existing gear that I had, which was best for vlogging. And I concluded this was the best combo, which is my full frame DSLR plus external mic, fairly wide lens and some sort of hand grip. But time has moved on and I've got some cash in my pocket at the moment and I'm starting to think, what can I buy to improve on this setup? Let's focus first on what the downsides of this are. First and foremost is the weight of this combined rig. That's over 2 kilos and that's a lot to hold steady when you've got your arm extended. And second is autofocus. As a vlogger, you want a little bit of flexibility to move around and ideally a little bit of a soft background such that the subject is the sharp focal point. You might also wish to move in certain objects to demonstrate that. But as you can probably hear in the background, there is a lot of lens movement where the autofocus is continually searching for the subject and making what I would consider unacceptable background noise for a shoot. I guess as DSLR owners we've kind of got used to this by now, and such we tend to focus on the subject and then switch to manual focus, but really in this day and age there must be a better solution to that. And third is microphone. The D750's got a pretty decent stereo mic on the camera body itself, but if you get any kind of wind noise, it does have an electronic wind reduction, but it's not good enough. So you really need to be looking at an external mic with a wind muffler on it. So in this case, this generally works, but this Rode stereo mic's not really designed for vlogging and for speech. It's more an ambient stereo mic suitable for capturing environment noise, concerts, that kind of thing. And also, this kind of mic is a powered mic by batteries. So A, you've got to make sure you've got enough battery power in there, and obviously you've got to remember to turn it on before you do the shoot. And the fourth point is stabilisation. It's quite easy to move it about smoothly manually when you're not doing too much movement, but when we're on hikes, there's going to be a natural jarring of the camera, and when you watch this footage back, it is quite jerky. And fifth on the list of downsides is cost. Choosing a full frame camera body and quality lenses is an expensive option for vlogging videos alone, but it's a good choice when you want to combine great photography, sharp lens options and wide dynamic range video all in the one unit. I guess the catch is that you do become somewhat locked into the DSLR camera brand, where you invest a lot of money in all of the related bits and pieces. And final point number 6, video resolution. This is somewhat of a divisive topic because the quality of 1080p HD video these days is still perfectly acceptable and makes for a great viewing experience, but 4K is the new standard for video resolution, certainly on YouTube, and to get recording in that format now will certainly future-proof your videos for many years to come. But there's also that small point of the YouTube algorithm and how many extra points you get in terms of metrics for recording it in a modern format. So where does that leave me? Those are the top 6 issues that I'm looking to improve on. And of course I am trying to maintain a similar level of image quality in terms of sharpness, dynamic range and colour capture. But I am willing to make some small sacrifices, certainly in the context of vlogging, where we're not really looking to capture the best of cinematic video experience. So prior to recording this video, I did have in mind that at some point I'd probably upgrade to one of these new mirrorless digital cameras, such as the Sony Alpha A7R series. It checks a couple of boxes on my wish list in terms of weight, quite a bit lighter than the full frame DSLRs, and they've got native 4K video recording. And then I was forced to upgrade my smartphone and I chose the Sony XZ Premium, which has got very good video recording capabilities, and it dawned on me, I thought, is this the solution to my new vlogging needs? Weight, very light, autofocus is digital and quiet, microphone, not great, but we can use an external mic solution for that. Stabilisation, again, we'd need a solution, but where the phone's very light, you can have a lighter stabilising unit. Cost much cheaper than the combined DSLR setup, and video resolution, most modern high-end smartphones have got 4K video recording these days. So, the more astute of you might be thinking, how is it he's recording this video in 4K with seamless autofocus? Well, it's probably about time I introduce you to my new vlogging rig. Let's bring you this way. And here it is. It's my Sony XZ Premium smartphone on a DJI Osmo Mobile stabiliser, and a separate unit where you can put microphone hot shoes onto, and the Rode VideoMic GO. And it's got the DJI Osmo base unit on it at the moment, because that has a screw that you can plug in a tripod plate, and that's useful if I'm doing static studio recordings. So initial impressions are generally favourable, with a few observations. The DJI Osmo grip is designed for most smartphones, probably iPhone being its primary audience. The problem with the Sony XZ is that it's got a physical camera shutter button, and where it grips it wants to half depress the button, which is a bit annoying. So to get around that, I've bought one of these kind of like cheap rubber smartphone cases, just to try and get above that part of the phone so that it doesn't hit the button. And with the DJI Osmo fully extended, it's actually quite tight to push that in left to right. So I've found an easier way of doing it is actually to slot it in from the top first and then push in the bottom, like so. But you can see how the unit is naturally wanting to fall to the left, and where possible you're supposed to try and physically balance this before the motor has to kick in and do its stabilisation job. So that's not ideal, but it's just something I'm going to have to live with. And it seems like the Osmo motors have got enough power to deal with that. And this optional side bracket, which you screw into the side, has got two hot shoe mounts for accessories, which is quite useful, especially when I'm wanting to use an external mic to get the audio from a subject in front. And the VideoMic GO is powered by the recording unit itself, so that's great, so we don't have to think about battery power, and it automatically records when you record on the unit. And it comes with a sort of a coiled cable, which is quite good to keep it compact, but the problem is it just seems to restrict the movement of the phone at its furthest stabilisation limit. So what you can do is just stretch this cable, and it gives it a bit of extra length, so that doesn't happen. Over time that shrinks back again, so you have to sort of remember to do it each time. And another initial observation I've had is that this DJI motor unit for the stabiliser actually makes a little bit of noise, which you can actually hear on video. If I put this separate mic to it, you can probably hear a sort of a hissing noise. And it was in one of the previous video clips that you've just watched, and it had a bit of a hissing noise which I had to reduce on the equaliser. So really we need to get that microphone away from this unit really if we're wanting very clean sound. And another thing to mention, the VideoMic GO comes with a standard TRS to TRS black to black connector, and this is good for DSLRs and that kind of thing that takes that connector, but for a smartphone they use the TRRS connector, which is this grey one, and Rode do sell a separate cable, the SC7, and it's quite useful because it can just be unplugged from the mic and it seems to work quite nicely. And for recording out and about in windy conditions, Rode also sell a separate dead cat wind muffler, which is a little bit tight, but you can just slot it onto there, and hopefully that'll remove any wind buffeting noise that we'll get. So what I thought would be a good test, if we can head outdoors and test this whilst on the move in a windy setting and see how it performs. So we're out and about, vlogging on the move. Same location as last time. Pretty similar weather conditions. sunshine and clouds, and it's quite windy today, which is good, so we can test the wind muffler. But yeah, this is the standard Sony video camera mode, which when it's on front-facing camera like this, we can't do 4K, so this is 1080p, and hopefully it should have some sort of vibration reduction as I'm walking up this slightly rutted grass surface to take out some of the camera movement. But yeah, it's kind of nice being able to see myself on camera. I can frame myself a lot better. Hopefully the stabilisation on the Osmo is doing its thing and making for fairly smooth footage. Need to keep remembering to stare at the camera though, rather than into the screen and my beautiful looking mug. But yeah, certainly weight wise it feels a lot lighter, and I've got the microphone on its little hot shoe adapter, and it's pointing directly at my mouth somewhere down here. But yeah, can't argue with this. And as a comparison, this is the DJI Go app. Again, it's making use of the camera's native video resolution that's advertised as 1080p on the Sony. But I just wonder when I get back, am I going to see it as smooth as the native camera app? Good thing about this DJI Go though is it's got this facial tracking mode. Got it in facial tracking mode at the moment. Unable to rotate. And if you have got a nice bit of scenery in the background and you want a wider field of view, then you can hook up this DJI extension stick and you know, get a wider lens that way. The trouble is you can't put the extension stick and the microphone shoe mount adapter on at the same time, so it's probably really only good for clips that you're going to mute out the sound. Yeah, and with this tripod with a small base to it, it's not ideal. I've had to get creative and put a backpack at the bottom of it to stabilise it when I'm trying to get a still shot. So, mixed results on that outing. I thought the video stabilisation was great, really happy with that, and that's a big improvement over DSLR, hiking and vlogging and all of the jerkiness of that. The sound was a nightmare though, and I did Google that when I got back, and I found a DJI forum talking about exactly the same interference issue, and turns out it's caused by the wireless signal on the phone interfering with the cable somehow. I'm not sure how that's even possible because I can't think of any other cabled solutions that ever suffer from that. But sure enough, if you turn off the wireless, or even better, just go into airplane mode and turn off all of the sort of wireless comms, that issue largely goes away. So listening to the audio carefully, I think the VideoMic GO and the wind muffler did a pretty good job of removing most of the wind buffeting noise, but there is this kind of like dull, bassy undertone which is not ideal. I can frame myself a lot better. Hopefully the stabilisation on the Osmo is doing its thing, and I think if I can, it would be better if I can capture the speech on a clip-on lavalier mic where possible. The problem I now have is that I'd normally plug this clip-on mic into my phone, which is in my pocket, and record the speech track that way and then combine them later in post. But the phone is going to be out there in my hand, and the cable is probably going to be a bit tight to reach the phone itself. So you can also purchase an extension TRRS cable, which is very long actually. It's like 6 meters. So that would definitely give me the length I needed, and with the cable dragging, you know, beneath the screen, you're probably not going to see it, and if you can hide this mic, then that's probably a good combination. Or if you've got another phone, I mean, I've got this old phone which is still working fine for audio recording, then I suppose you could take 2 devices, but then that's kind of defeating part of the object of slimming down and only having one main unit. And the two problems I had with the DJI GO app were that the facial tracking mode didn't seem to like the cable attached. It's very sensitive to it being restricted. And the DJI GO app doesn't make use of the physical vibration reduction in the lens on the smartphone camera. So it's actually better to use the native smartphone video app. But that's okay, I can live with that. The facial tracking mode is of limited benefit to a vlogger on the move. But of all of the results so far, I think the clip-on mic is the best solution to get the best quality speech, and I can live with all of the complexity of having extension cables hanging off the phone. So what I thought I'd do to conclude this video is head out again and learn from the mistakes that we had from the first outing, and we'll switch off the wireless and we'll make use of this clip-on microphone with the wind muffler, and let's see if we're getting somewhere close to an ideal vlogging platform on the smartphone with clear audio and no wind buffeting. Let's go. So here we are again, out on the move. It's a beautiful evening forming. Might get a nice sunset later. And I've got all the wireless turned off this time, so hopefully you shouldn't be getting any noise interference. And yeah, I'm mic'd up with the long cable. Actually, I've got too much cable. All got tangled up and it's a bit of a nightmare, so I need some sort of cable management solution. But yeah, I've got the lavalier mic clipped onto me with the wind muffler somewhere here. And hopefully you can't see it and the speech is clear, which is good, because I don't really like it when you can see the mic. I think it looks more natural if you can hide it. But how's it looking? How's it sounding? Are we getting there? And I just watched that back for a bit of a sanity check, and I noticed that, yeah, I've got to be careful when I'm walking into the sun that I'm not basically casting a shadow onto myself with this. So we need to make sure we're walking to the side like that. I think that'll work. Shift it to the right place. Looks maybe a little bit odd talking sideways, but how about this? That's not too bad, is it? Any shadow cast there? No. Keep walking through cow pats, which is annoying. And the good thing about this 6-meter extension cable is I can use it on the extension rod and still get hopefully clear sound and a nice vista in the background. Hey, result. So yeah, through trial and error, I think we've got to a good place now. Glad I make these videos. It does push you through trying different things, failing and seeing what the solution is. But yeah, not having the 4K video recording option on the front-facing camera is a little bit of a downside, but I'm sure that'll be addressed by smartphone makers in the next few years. And with all these electronics and sort of fiddly connections and that kind of thing, it does feel like the whole setup's a bit more fragile than a ruggedized DSLR. So that's a bit of a concern, but if the stabiliser wouldn't be the end of the world, I could handhold it until I fix that. And especially when I'm traveling with Jill, my wife, she's got fun as well if the phone goes wrong. So yeah, I think it's got promise, this little option. I'm not going to do any more filming now. I'm going to make the next video that's coming out shortly about an autumn wild camp, and all of that is going to be recorded entirely on smartphone and DJI Osmo. So take a look at that when it comes out, see what you think. And then for now, I think I'm just going to watch this sunset, head home, and good night to you all. So see you soon. Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier in the video, I did actually fork out for the official DJI tripod legs, which are a much better design, very sturdy. I'm very impressed with DJI's build quality in general, actually. That all breaks down into a very compact unit, but you can extend the arms out, and it's quite a nice little option. Do you guys want a treat then? Come on then, let's watch the sunset and have a little treaty, shall we? Oh, let's sit. Sit. Can you still hear me? Still got the microphone plugged in with my super long cable. It's brilliant. Ugh, you stink of shit beds.